special edition of the Endless Backlog podcast. On today's episode, we will be talking all about Life is Strange. So if you have not played this game and have not beaten this game and would like to avoid spoilers, this is your last chance because in a few minutes, we're going to start spoiling things. And if you just really want to listen to us jibber jabber about a game we like, though, stay tuned. Joining me is Christopher Compton.
What's up? This could be my favorite podcast of the year. I don't know.
I mean, we're on a good run of just me and you on podcasts right now.
I know, right? It's because everyone else is lazy or busy and we don't have lives, so...
Yeah.
Get it done.
Or that we actually beat our video games, you know.
Yeah,
good video games is what it really is.
I know. I feel like some people are just padding that list to get their game of the year, like the 52 games done.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's pick quality.
Yeah. Like, in your case, you enjoy the curated thing. In my case, I am definitely going to pad that list soon.
You're going to pad?
Speaking of which, 52 Games Watch. Before February is over, I am at 8 games now. So, technically, my pace is there. However,
you're on par, yeah.
However, if we recognize that in theory I ended January with either 5 or 6 games beaten, depending on how you want to look at it, although I should be Grim Fandango, but 3 in 1 month is a bad number to have. So, February I did slack a little.
I had 3 in 1 week in February.
I know, you had a good run.
Yeah, well, that was because January I only got 1, so fucking Xenoblade.
Time consuming. Nothing newsy happened, but I guess we could continue to say that Capcom and Street Fighter V is still hilarious. Microsoft released specs for that Gears of War Ultimate Edition. I don't know if they released it or it's like a leak, but whatever. Point is, those specs do not look pretty because ain't no reason that game needs 16 gigs of RAM. That's absurd.
Yeah, that's pretty absurd. Game from 2006.
Yeah. Either way, we're going to talk Life is Strange. So once again, if you don't want to be spoiled... this is your last chance, cause Chloe died in my game.
Yeah, she died in my game, too.
Yeah, holy shit. That game went places. I mean...
Okay. I know it comes down to a binary choice, and that could rub people the wrong way in a similar fashion that the Mass Effect 3 ending rubbed people the wrong way. But I'm not going to make this a Mass Effect discussion. But I think Life is Strange creates a binary decision in a way that is subtly, but totally different than the way Mass Effect presented it, and it works because of that in a way Mass Effect didn't.
Doesn't it feel so good to talk about this game in podcast form, and now we don't have to worry about spoiling it?
Yeah, it does. Because that's one of those tightropes you got to walk when you're talking about this game.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now we get to talk about it freely, about the things we liked and didn't really like.
Because it's a story-based game in which talking about the story is a spoiler. So how do you even talk about Life is Strange without...
Which, like, I'm glad that, like, spoiler shows started becoming a thing. Because it's like, even, like, people who review movies were like, no, you need to actually, like, talk about what happened in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we've talked about Life is Strange actually without spoiling anything. There should always kind of be like 2 things to a story-based game: the non-spoiler version and the spoiler version.
Yeah. So, when I did not the review, but like when I said it wasn't so much that the ending bothered me, because the ending scene itself is fantastic. It's really well executed. My thing is the mechanism that gets you there. Okay. I felt like, for whatever, even though like the whole game had already been hinting at that giant tornado, when we got to that point where the giant tornado is responsible for my decision making, I was like, I'm not cool with this. It is very much similar to how, like, I joke as like it's really a bad knock because it's more like, why aren't you perfect? Less so this has like an objective layer to it. I mean, whatever. I guess it's all subjective on some level. But, like, this more than the other ones is just being nitpicky. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Not that I don't nitpick, but, like, this more so than the other ones. It's just, like, when the setup was happening, I was like, this isn't as, like, elegant to me of a way to set up this scenario, right? I accept that Max's powers mess with the timeline. Like time itself is trying to fix itself for Max's like not pandering, but you know,
manipulation.
Tampering.
Tampering.
There you go. Tampering is the word.
Yeah.
That's fine. I accept that. It's just, again, at the end, I was like, man, I really wanted something else other than... Like, if it was a series of circumstances where no matter what Max was doing, it was just getting shittier and shittier, and whatever, I guess technically a giant tornado is that, it worked, like the when she went back in time to save the dad.
Right. Yeah, well, I guess that's what... Because it did that a few times. I mean... She tried with the, and then she in episode 5, she got to go to the art gallery and all of her wildest dreams came true. And then the tornado hit and everyone died and she wasn't there. Yeah. And then she tried something else and people died again. Yeah. So she tried a few different options, but I guess what you're trying to say, and two things I kind of agree with. I don't really understand because it's not firmly explained. I'm actually kind of glad they didn't firmly explain it. Why they know for a fact that Max's tampering is the cause of this tornado. Like, how do they know? And if you make the choice to sacrifice Chloe, how come that still doesn't cause the tornado? Because she still fucks with the timeline to get Jefferson to go to jail.
Well, okay, so that's where I think is different. What I actually think happens is, I thought the ending implies that she just lets everything run its course.
No, I think
I thought she goes back in time, doesn't save Chloe.
She doesn't save Chloe, for sure.
And then what happens is that the stepdad, just because he's that driven, eventually catches Jefferson.
I was under the impression that she still meddles a little bit. I was under the impression that it was literally just Chloe was the one thing that caused the tornado. That she could manipulate a lot of other little things, right. But it was specifically Chloe that caused the tornado. Again, I don't see that correlation, but it's the butterfly effect. It's the sound of thunder. It's all that stuff. Okay, fine, fair enough. But I do agree in the sense that because the time jump just starts getting totally out of control in the 5th act, which I liked, it does kind of feel a disjointed emotional journey up until that moment. And then suddenly, boom, it's the choice.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, shit. Like, you feel the full force of it when it hits. But I see what you mean by the build-up could have been a little bit more elegant.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with, it opens with the whole murder case, and then that stops being a thing, and then it's the time manipulation, and then it's the choice.
Yeah, like a lot of things happen in that final episode, and they never... I mean, people got mad about the whole not explaining her powers thing, but I'm with that. You. Yeah. I don't really want it explained, because you know it was going to be something stupid. Ancient Native Americans or some bullshit.
Yeah, it would have been fucking Indigo Prophecy with the Mayans and all that crazy shit again, so... No, I'm glad they didn't specifically explain. I guess I just wish I don't know, that's kind of... I have my cake and eat it too. I wish they sort of gave us a firm reason without explaining it as to why the tornado was definitely linked to Chloe, and they knew that if they sacrificed Chloe, the tornado wouldn't happen. I guess it's just a feeling.
I mean by how this is a very much like, why aren't you perfect complaint and not like
exactly
complaint?
That's why I have no problems with the ending, really. Yeah. I understand.
I don't have problems with it, but if I would compare it to two things, I would compare it to the way our Phil responded to the Mad Men ending, which anyone that watches that show knows that thematically it makes the most fucking sense for that show. And then his reaction to the Justified ending. The Mad Men ending is well thought out, but it's capable of creating a reaction. It was like, really? That was my payoff?
Yep. Whereas
the Justified ending was just like, your instant reaction to it is, yes, that is a beautiful way to end this show. That is perfect. And it isn't, and it almost like conflicts with the idea of what a climax or whatever is of a TV show like that. Mm-hmm. But it works beautifully, right? And at the end of the day, Phil would agree. He's like, yeah, that Mad Men ending is good, but it doesn't resonate the way the Justified ending did.
Which is fair enough.
Which is where I guess my beef with Life is Strange is that I felt the final scene and all the 4 episodes that led me here were so good, and then I got to the end and I was just going, I really don't want this tornado to be the reason.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear that. Yeah, that's fair enough. And again, coming back to that choice is, I understand there being a choice because it's a choice-based game.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand why the fuck would you choose to sacrifice the town?
Yeah.
Like, logically, thematically, emotionally, it had to be Chloe. I feel like you almost destroy that game by choosing the other option.
I agree. So people make the argument that the second ending is basically Max sort of also letting go and just like accepting her consequence, right?
Yeah.
And her and Chloe and that fits thematically, but I'm like, the problem is it conflicts with the characters. They kill off way too many characters. Like, the mom dies.
Everyone dies.
Yeah. So, I don't buy that Chloe would be that cool with her parent, who even she admits, like, even Chloe admits that she is a terrible daughter to her mother. Like,
yeah.
So,
I just don't understand in a game where Chloe is constantly, the end result is her dying, no matter what Max does.
Yeah.
And then you get to that ending, and you say, no, I'm saving Chloe
like
again.
to the bitter end, I'm going to be defined. Like, you're effectively not learning. Effectively, you don't learn the lesson.
Yeah, that's what I say. And a narrative arc, that would be the equivalent of a character not growing. And not understanding a single thing that happened. And which was shocking to me when I got those final stats, and it said 53% chose to sacrifice Chloe, which means I was barely in the majority there. I thought that was an obvious, of course she has to go. But I guess people just responded so well to the relationship between Chloe and Max that they said, fuck that. I've seen Chloe die multiple times. I'm not letting that happen again. Where it's like, no, but that's why. You gotta. It has to be permanent. You have to let her go. But, like I said, that I didn't probably cry as you did, hard as you did for that Dragon Cancer, but that hit hard.
I doubt
that
it.
hit hard, yeah.
No,
because friendship and letting go has always been a big part of my writing. Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, oh man.
There's something very bitter about like how everything about the way that scene's acted is very convincing. It's like Chloe making peace with it.
Yes.
Also is like, it's
makes
so
it
hard to hear.
Yeah,
She's
it
like,
makes it so hard.
This has been the best week of my life, because you're going through the emotions and you're thinking when Max left town, like, she became aloof. She's not really like, she's a good person. She's just made some choices that you wouldn't agree with, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
well, and the thing is, when you go back, she said best week of her life. She didn't experience that week in the timeline that you go back.
That's the other thing. Yes, that's what makes it an even bigger gut punch. It's like, so in a weird sense, she dies not even knowing.
No.
Like, what could have been with Max. Yeah, exactly. It's
Max knows, but yeah, she doesn't.
So it makes a gut punch harder.
Oh, all that went through my head. I was like, you don't understand how bad this is gonna be. It sucks, but yeah, beautiful. And and I alluded to before, the whole reason I think this worked and the way the Mass Effect ending doesn't work. I mean, some of these complaints they did mitigate a little bit in the extended cut, but the whole fact that you have those scenes with the entire cast before you go to that binary choice of the town or Chloe.
Wait. She's in the restroom the whole time when she's dying.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't really be tampering with the timeline. You get what I'm saying? I feel like if she didn't have time traveling powers, what's the setup for that scenario? She was in the bathroom. She saw who killed Chloe. She dimes that kid out, and then stepdad just runs with it from there, and they eventually get what's his face.
Maybe. I guess they leave it vague enough that you can just kind of fill in.
I think the threads are there where it's like, okay, no, this still makes sense that Jefferson would get caught. Because as long as Homeboy gets caught, I think he's a Prescott. Yeah, he's a Prescott.
Yeah, he's a Prescott.
So
he would have get caught. Yeah, whether Max told on him or not, he would have got caught. You shot someone in the bathroom. They're going to find out. Yeah, so maybe she didn't need to tell anything. Which is kind of makes Life is Strange a bit of a Shaggy Dog story in the sense that they tell all this to the eventual conclusion of nothing happened. Yeah. Like it was all a dream kind of thing. Yeah. Because if she didn't do anything, then
a lot happens.
A lot happens that didn't actually get to happen.
So you described the game as, I believe, warm, tender, when we were talking. So let's go back to episode 1. Let's rewind this. Let's Tarantino this.
Yeah, we start at the ending, now we start at the beginning.
Yeah, we'll go all the way back to the beginning. Even though the beginning is like actually the most talked about thing that this podcast has ever done, because in my case, in your case, that's the part we talked about.
That's the
same
setup.
thing with Aljosa, yeah.
Yeah, that's all you can talk about without spoiling anything.
Yeah, well, because even if you spoil it, it's like it's the first episode. Like, there's so much more going on.
Yeah.
Great introduction to all those characters. Great introduction to scenarios. I was a dick to Victoria. I think you were more pleasant.
I was pleasant. I was kind of a harsh friend to her.
So I'm curious to see how all that stuff played out. But I use the time manipulating power to talk to the pregnant girl / abortion girl, I guess.
Yeah.
I also use the time manipulating powers to tell that girl, that I know her actual name, which I think you have to do. Like, that's a mandatory sequence.
What is?
That one girl that asks you to guess her name because she knows you don't really know her. You're just chiming in. The one that locks the, God, what's her name again? Hold on. They're gonna come to me. No. Dana's the pregnant girl, right?
Yeah.
The cheerleader thing.
Yeah.
And then who is the, Juliet.
Juliet, okay.
Yeah. Remember, like, she locks Dana in the room and then...
Yeah, because the guy stole her phone, or Victoria was spreading false rumors.
Yeah. Like, oh, God, high school, man. It's so good. Like, a game with a setting like this.
Yeah.
So different. So let's move on to episode 2, because that's
when things start...
stuff.
Yeah, the Kate stuff.
Kate is one of my favorite characters in this story. Like,
I can see that for sure.
Like, she's so well done. It's a very convincing story because it's easy to buy. It's like, yeah, a drunk girl being taken advantage of in a very, like, a big enough school, but, like, just small enough that everyone sort of knows everyone.
Right.
Would spread like wildfire and would be really damaging. And, like, it would be, like, that scarlet letter that you'd have to wear.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, you add in the fact that Kate is a very religious person,
Her family.
God forbid they throw a religious angle into games. Fuck you. And it's like her family. Yeah, like you were seeing letters about how the parents were disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that's, that would be difficult on a student like that who Kate came off like she had some anxiety problems. She was very reserved. Mm-hmm. Right?
And because we hadn't seen her the week before, but apparently she was a lot more vibrant of a person until this stuff started happening.
Yeah, until she starts getting bullying, which I think is... And the best thing about the game is, like, I don't feel like it's as obnoxious about telling you that scenario is about bullying straight up, right? Like, if it was a lesser game in today's politically correct environment, it would, like, hammer you over the head. Like, you wouldn't even have the dialogue option to mention bullying. That word would have came up.
Yeah.
But, like...
Because you don't, as a teenager, you don't call bullying. It's just, yeah.
It's like, well, because again, when you're a kid, your idea of bullying is pick up the kid and ask him for his lunch money or punch him.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't look at verbal bullying as a thing.
Or viral bullying, yeah.
And I enjoyed the fact that as my Max Caulfield, like, it was a dialogue option when it came up. Yes. They do bring it up, obviously. And people can argue, well, that string of dialogue is a little preachy. It's like, that string of dialogue makes sense to my Max Caulfield, but it didn't have to be that way. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Lesser games would take that out of the equation, and it would have been straightforward. So, that's been one of my favorite parts about that storyline. Like, she's very easy to empathize with, and she's built to be very easy to empathize with, right?
Yes.
But, like, that doesn't make it less effective.
What I think is the most effective part of that, specifically episode 2's arc, is you don't even really realize, because as you said, it's a smart game, you don't even realize that's kind of the main thread of that story. If you're thinking about it, you're thinking about Chloe, and potentially how you handle it. Kate is
powers.
kind of Kate is a side character in that story, because you can just be like, you go into a room and you tell her, don't tell the cops, and then you can not take the call. And you don't realize how big of an issue this potentially is until you see her up on that roof. And depending on your choice already, there's no talking her off that roof.
Yeah, and then like what's crazy is, as you said, so it becomes like this big central thing, but it's like it thematically works again because just the way the teachers aren't paying attention to Kate, just the way that like the adults aren't paying attention to like the trouble Kate is going through because like they're so disappointed in her. Fucking Mount Pious assholes. Mm-hmm. Max and the player are unfortunately not giving her the attention, and that's a conversation that comes back later on whether or not Max is actually all that altruistic. Mm-hmm. But at that moment, you're going, "Oh fuck!" Like Max is getting that's like one of Max's first real lessons. Like, wait, hold on. Like, I need to start paying attention to certain things a little bit more.
Well, yeah, because when Kate is talking to Mr. Jefferson, that's not even a cutscene. That's something happening in the background. You can totally miss that scene if you're not looking for Kate. Again, you cannot take the phone call. So really, your only interaction with Kate, potentially, is at the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah, there's a Kate thing I think I've skipped. So I've seen the stuff with her stepdad. I think I've seen the conversation just before, in the second episode between her and Jefferson, but there's supposed to be another scene between her and Jefferson in episode 1. I might be wrong, but I remember something like that I didn't get. So like you said, like there's certain things that don't happen. So that makes so what the episode ends with is Kate's about to commit suicide.
Yep.
She gets to the top of the women's dorm, the girls' dorm, women. And she's about to jump off. So as Max, you have to go up there, and you would think, oh, whatever. You just use the time powers quickly to like rewind time before she jumps off. But you lose those powers for a brief stretch when it comes to making the dialogue choices against Kate. And I would argue, is that a bit of a weird plot hole in this story? Because that scenario never comes up again.
It's not a plot hole; it's a plot contrivance. they're just taking away so that this is a permanent thing that happens no matter what.
Or a plot hole would be the wrong word. So, like, does that cheapen it for you, or?
It added stakes for me personally. I could see the argument that it cheapens it because it's just because it's a video game. It's forcing you to stick with these facts. I would argue though, because she does jump off the roof as soon as you turn that corner. That's probably one of the most horrific images I've seen in any video game. A teenage girl jumping off a building, like from that angle too, because you're from Max's perspective. So Kate's small as she jumps, and for some reason that image stuck with me. I can still easily picture it.
She just drops.
And then I was just like, oh my... I forgot that Max had the time manipulation. I thought that was just something...
I was quick to press the trigger. I'm like, whoa! This got way too dark!
Yeah, like immediately. I
think I knew it was coming, but I was like, alright, so I'm just gonna savor using the time rewinding powers. And then it tells you the rewinding isn't gonna happen. I'm like,
so I better be on my shit here. Yeah. It was just funny because some people, like Al Joseph said he had to restart it 3 times because he fucked it up. He's like, no way was I letting Kate down.
Yeah. Well, he did. I got her on first try. I got her on first try
too.
I didn't necessarily think it was too difficult, but there are a few dialogue exchanges where you go... Like, you're looking at it and, like, you know exactly what not to say, the obvious stuff. But then there's, like, a handful of selections where you're going, man, either one of these could be the right answer, and it's fine. And it's not ham-fisted, I feel.
No,
I don't buy
know.
That.
I think if you just watch, like, television shows and movies and went with how they talk to potential suicide victims or bullying victims like this in those movies, I think you could fail it. Because if you go for the obvious stuff, she doesn't respond well to obvious
the obvious stuff. She's like, you have so much to live for, or everything happens for a reason. Or
if you say that shit, she will jump.
It's like, no, you need to, like, you're going to have to be brutally honest with her at the same time, but, like, not too brutally honest, which is the crazy part. It's, again, the tight wire act with this game has been, like...
I only fucked up once in that when she was asking, well, who do I have left in my family? And it's like mom, dad, sisters, grandmother. And you only know that option if you look through her room before you talk to her. Yeah. And I fucked up and I accidentally said dad. And no, it's not the parents, it's her siblings are the ones that cared about her. So that was the only step back she took, and I was like, no! Yeah,
so like, people make this weird thing about, like, oh, you know, your choices don't matter. But, like, not doing certain things in that game mattered. Like, it's not the same as The Walking Dead, because I can't think of a scenario in the first season of The Walking Dead where, and whatever, someone can correct us if I'm wrong about this, where, like, if you don't do a certain piece of just exploring an area, that's going to change dialogue options in a later exchange. In Life is Strange, if you don't examine her room and don't read up on some of that stuff, and then also don't take, like, how many times do we get logs in games and you're like, pfft. In my case, I just go, pfft. Like, Rise of Tomb Raider, I do not give a fuck about what Lara Croft has to say about those treasures, because it means nothing to the story. But in Life is Strange, like, I gave a crap about the notes. Like, you're watching my, the video I put on YouTube, I'm just skipping through the notes for the most part, but that's because, like, I read it on my time, because I figured, alright, you don't want to, like, look at this thing the whole time.
Right.
It would just be weird. But, like, that stuff added to it. And, like, in that instance, like, when I was really into it, I did pay attention to what was being written down. And, you know, I think there's another key point you have to bring up about, not just the siblings, but there's another character you have to bring up that, like, matters to Kate, you know? Because you can't even use the religious stuff against her.
No.
Because now she feels betrayed on that end, too. Because that's exactly the reason why she's jumping. She feels like
I actually quoted her favorite...
Yes. Matthew 3... I can't remember the number, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it was the Matthew, the song.
Yeah, I quoted that, and she responded. Because she doesn't respond to the fact that you're using religious imagery or religious text to persuade her. She's responding to the fact that you know her favorite Bible verse.
Yeah, like someone is out there for her. Like someone is paying attention to her.
Yes, which
if the player has shown that, you know what? The player has given that much attention to remember this.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you could dumb luck that.
You could probably dumb luck it, but...
Well, hold on. Do you even get the option to bring up a psalm if...
I don't know. So yeah, I'd have to play it again.
Yeah.
That could be why Aljo.
We're gonna replay this and be like the shittiest people.
Because it's
like, let me not explore Kate's room.
You just bolt through. Because yeah, I know you can't use the phone call option if you don't take the call.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah.
So it's such a good sequence, though.
It was my favorite until episode 3 came. What I really liked about Life is Strange and what actually might put it ahead of the first season of The Walking Dead. So when we talk about the first season of Walking Dead, we're talking about 2 episodes. We're talking about episode 3 and episode 5. It's always those 2 episodes. Maybe episode 2. Maybe. Life is Strange, you can talk about episode 2, 3, 4, and 5, and guaranteed there's a holy shit jaw-dropping moment.
Every episode had its moment, and every moment was really good. Episode 2, I want to say, still focuses on, like, is that the episode when Chloe almost gets killed by a train or whatever the fuck?
Yep.
Yeah, so, oh my god, we didn't even get to that part. I feel like that whole episode's Kate, you're right. Like, a big stretch of that episode is actually just hanging out with Chloe at the train yard and learning about that guy who Rachel was fucking. Spoiler. Well, what even?
Well, we're Spoilercast. We've spoiled the ending already.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
you can potentially... And that, again, also changes your dynamic with that character, Frank. If you don't pull I didn't pull a gun on him. Or I didn't pull the trigger. You pull the gun on him either way. Yeah. I didn't pull the trigger. And from there forward, he mentioned that a few times, and I felt like our relationship was less antagonistic because he knows that I was a bit of a coward. He knows that I'm not like a murderer who almost tried to kill him at that one part.
So I pulled the trigger.
You pulled the trigger? You would, you fucking psycho.
So, I was like, whoa. Let me see where this is gonna... Oh, I can rewind time! That's why!
This isn't what I'd do, but for the conflict of story...
Well, yeah, this is what I would do when... I think you actually couldn't rewind time at that point, right?
No, you can. You can see the 2 different options for that.
Yeah, so I did that. I went with the trigger, and I was like, I guess I'll go with the... I liked the idea he was intimidated by me, knowing that I couldn't kill him. If it had killed him, then I would have rewound the time to be like, alright, no, let's not go down.
Which happens in episode 4 a lot, that sequence,
But, like, when the scenario was, alright, he's either gonna think I'm a fucking softie, and this is gonna come back to bother us, or I intimidate him... And that changed the dynamic for us, too. But, like, we ended up in a good place because me and Frank worked it out.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Frank is, again, one of those characters that subverts expectations a little bit in that he looks like the killer or...
the dirtbag.
The dirtbag. But he actually is a lot less...
dirtbag. He just sells drugs. Like, big deal.
Like, he definitely has a temper, but that doesn't make him a bad person.
Yeah, I like that. A lot of what makes Life is Strange work... In spite of iffy dialogue, some bad lip syncing, not a lot of gameplay, if you will, in like the classic sense.
Right.
Right. Is that A, that game's got heart, and B, that it's written for adults. Like, everyone's more complicated. Like, even the 2-dimensional characters are still presented in a way that, like, they have some flaws. Like, they will do certain things that aren't, necessarily the most pleasant thing, but they're not the most awful people ever. Like, the only, like, legitimately awful characters in this game, like, awful in the sense that they're, like, deplorable, are Jefferson, who's a creep,
Yes.
and Prescott, who's insane.
Even Prescott, I feel a little bit sorry for.
Yeah, well, he's easy to empathize with in the sense that he got taken advantage of.
Yes, exactly. So, what I really like about this game is it's one of those games where you can feel that if someone only likes their stories very vanilla, that they would hate almost every character in this for simply having flaws. It's so rare for a video game to present this diverse cast of characters, and every single one of them is, as you said, pretty much three-dimensional and has real emotions and flaws, not stereotypical 35-year-old white guy who, whatever.
Like, Heavy Rain, for instance, has a creepy hypodermist who tries to rape Madison.
Yes.
The cop has drinking problems, and he's so fun. The other cops that mess with the dad are so shitty to him. They're just, like, dumb cops.
Yeah.
So, like, at no point do you, like, at least think the cops are at least trying to do their job. Whereas, like, the other... David comes off as a hothead and paranoid and all this other stuff, but he's redeemed over the course of that story as, like, what, Dave's a good guy. He's just, it's like, oh yeah, maybe going to war is going to make you a little on edge and all this other stuff.
Little PTSD,
yeah.
Every character has that redeeming quality to them. Even to me, Victoria.
Does episode 2 start in the... Victoria's got a lot of redeeming qualities. Yep. It's just, I wanted the Mean Girls motif, so,
She had to be that person.
Victoria had to be the villain of my story.
She had to fulfill that purpose, yeah.
But I ultimately do the thing necessary to save Victoria. Episode 2 opens in the diner, right? Or the diner is part of that episode, right?
The diner is part of that episode, yes.
Doesn't I love Joyce.
There. Yeah. Joyce
I
is...
love Joyce. She's so awesome.
She is the matriarch of that story.
She is a classic, good story mom.
Yes, absolutely.
I like that. Yeah. Right.
She's the tough as nails, the one that's going to call you on your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her.
She's like a good moral compass in that story. And Joyce is one of the big reasons that I stand by. Like that second ending makes no sense. Killing Joyce is irredeemable.
Yeah, you're a monster if you do that.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, I get the fact that you're more attached to that one character than any of the other characters, but not combined, you psychos.
I like Warren.
I liked Warren too. A lot of people say he's just a white knight cuckold.
No, but that's not it, though.
I know. They're wrong.
Okay, yes. Aaron Signo brings up a good point, where Warren is that, like, kind of nerdy kid who's got a crush on a girl, and the girl's not really noticing.
Yes.
His, like, he goes for the hug, and the hug doesn't happen. He goes out of his way to make these little movie things. He takes a beating. But in my case, like, I like that about Warren. Like, again, like, it makes... Because Warren also doesn't come off, like... He doesn't save the girl at the end, and he doesn't come off incompetent. He comes off, like... He's just got a crush. Like, he's endearing by the end of it. And it's not like...
And he's a little self-aware, too.
Yeah, like, he's self-aware of the ass-whipping he's taking. And whatever. You can friend-zone his ass, which Joseph did, the scumbag that he is.
I know. Fucked up, man.
I was like, no. Warren's getting his at that movie theater. Yeah, we're going to that drive-in.
Because, again, it is never about just the sex or anything like that. It's about their friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked a drive-in scene.
Yeah. I guess that would have just been too uneventful.
Well, then I guess, then it absolutely would have made him the White Knight character or whatever the fuck people are describing him as. It's like if there was a date scene. The fact that there will be a date after the story is like, okay, I guess that's enough. Mm-hmm. But I like Warren. Warren's another well-done character. So, I guess we'll skip an episode, but I don't stop Warren from beating his ass.
You let him go?
Yeah, so there's a later scene in episode 4 where, we're going to jump around, I guess. He beats the ever-loving shit out of Warren. And it's a little terrifying because Warren...
Nathan. He beats up Nathan.
Warren beats up Nathan. What did I say?
Yeah. You said Warren beats up Warren.
Oh, okay. Well, That would be interesting. Warren goes insane. Anyway, Warren starts beating the ever-loving shit out of Nathan Prescott, the guy who would have shot Chloe, and ultimately does shoot Chloe in our story.
And has been fucking with Max the whole story.
Yeah, fucking with Max the whole story. Beats Warren's ass the first episode of the game.
Yep.
And fuck yeah, Warren! Like,
so I stopped him. What happened?
Well, eventually they cut him off, but it's like he just knocks him out and then like gets up and like Nathan does his Nathan little throat like, I'm just gonna tell people or whatever the fuck. It's like, you're not gonna tell anyone, Nathan, you little bitch.
Wait until my father hears this.
Yeah. But it's like, it was cathartic for
you,
me, because I'm just like, fuck, someone needs to beat this kid's ass. And it was great because I'm like, yes, Warren. I like Warren. And in general, you watch like how Warren responds to it in an interesting way. Or he responds to it in a way that you want the story to have him respond. In the sense that if he's like super proud of himself and he's like, no one's ever going to stand up to me like that ever again, blah, blah, blah. Then it's like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
But the fact that even Warren's bothered by his behavior and that Max has to now comfort him in what he did and just like accept like, hey, let's just not let it happen again. But
well,
like,
that's in the I stopped him version of that storyline. He says, I'm glad that you stopped me. I wanted to beat his ass, but I would have felt gross about it.
Yeah. So in my version, he does feel gross about it, which
makes sense.
Which is the way this choice stuff is supposed to work. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, people are gonna say like that doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it's like, let's go back to 2007, Mass Effect 1. A lot of good stuff happens in that story of that game. A lot of great dialogue exchanges. The Vermeer choice is basically an iconic moment of that game.
Yep.
We joke about it nowadays, like, yeah, but no one saves Kaiden. But the Rex dialogue is actually really good. That's actually a really cool scene.
That is.
But
that can fuck up badly.
The one thing that was constantly annoying was that the fake choices were annoying because it felt like those characters weren't their own. They were just there to be antagonistic. The big one being the Council, which is that the Turian scumbag never lets you have your moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's just always against whatever you do. And yes, on one level, okay, the Turian's just there to make the job hard for the human because there's a Turian-human like animosity thing going on, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of bloodshed. I think in the lore of that franchise, the big war is the Turian
First Contact War, yep.
Glad I have the Mass Effect nerd here. But like the real issue I had with it is considering that there is a political layer to some of those questions, like the queen, the insect queen.
Yep.
Right? Like that is a political thing, genocide or, like what's going on here. And it took something away from the Turian character by him not having his own stance and just the stance that I'm just going to be a dick to
no matter
Shepard.
what. Yeah.
So when you get back to Life is Strange, a whopping 8 years later, like someone corrected that mistake. It's like, no, like now you have to live with the fact that he is going to be disgusted at his behavior.
Yeah.
How do you console him? Right? Like, whatever. He's not going to suddenly go on like a dark path bender or whatever.
There's not enough time for that.
Yeah. But like, you have to respond to those sequences a different way. Like how Max responds the first way and Warren is grateful, and then Max lets it go, and then, she has to now console Warren for something he doesn't feel great about. In a weird way, it took everything I felt cathartic about it. I was like, oh man, Warren, I guess I should have stopped you. I didn't rewind time though. Fuck that.
No. Well, that's just it. There were most of the time, even though I really appreciate that the game let you, because you always play those long games that are very choice heavy, and you think, do I really want to play through all this again just to see how this would have been different? Whereas Life is Strange says, no, just do it right now. You can just rewind and see the immediate reaction to these different choices. I mean, you don't get to see the long-term scenarios unless you play through the game multiple times, I guess. But I do appreciate that you have that ability. Although for me, I usually just stuck with what I did, unless I felt really shitty the first time.
Episode 3 opens with us invading the school.
Yes, episode 3 opens with Max in a room. She gets a call from Chloe, and then they go break into the school to find records on Nathan Prescott.
Yeah. Go further in the Rachel storyline. There's a lot of good, use of her powers to get behind the door and
sneak through those hallways. Yeah,
it's pretty good. The pseudo stealth segment is like whatever.
It's not even hard because the second you get caught, you just rewind. So
the borderline lesbian stuff is pretty entertaining in its own right, I guess.
I didn't kiss Chloe.
Oh, I let her kiss Chloe.
Which is funny because I don't know. I felt like, to me, there was always that fine line that Chloe was looking at Max as kind of a replacement for Rachel, and I didn't like that. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was kind of the culmination of that moment of, I'm not Rachel, and then that's why I stepped back. It's heavily intimated that Rachel and Chloe did stuff. Yeah.
Chloe's definitely lesbian.
Yes, Chloe, is she though? Because she definitely talks about guys sometimes. Because she had a crush on Mr. Jefferson just on a purely superficial level. I don't know if
just because she's looking at the menu doesn't mean she ordered.
Fair
enough. She
enough.
probably did order.
Well, because Rachel swings both ways, clearly.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Chloe's the same way.
She bangs Frank.
Yeah. So for me, saying no to Chloe was me saying no, I'm not Rachel. And plus, I never felt that Max was
nothing. Well, if it makes you feel better, nothing really interesting happens on there. They kiss, they joke about it, and
they joke about it a lot, not happening.
But the reason that scene works in the pool is just like the different like places those two characters are at.
Yeah,
like Max is slowly becoming more confident hanging around with Chloe, and Chloe
feels like she's getting her friend back.
There's a softening of her edges.
Yeah.
Because of Max being there now.
Yeah.
Right?
I liked that stuff in the pool and everything, but I only remember the second half of that episode because that's when it just starts destroying your emotions with the, because Max, after breaking in and having this really fun night with Chloe, has this weird moment where she finds out that she can go back in time all the way because Chloe has a bit of a breakdown and kind of blames her father for being dead and not being in her life, and starts blaming everyone for not being in her life and everybody leaving. And then she has this moment where she's looking at an old photo of her and Chloe, in which she can jump back that far in time. And it's the day that her father leaves to go pick up her mom.
It works so well, too.
Yeah.
Because you see how different Chloe was back then.
Yes. Yes.
Like,
you see that she was a normal teenager?
She's so demonstrably different.
Yes.
Like, she was borderline nerdy.
It's a believable change. You don't feel like... Because something that dramatic would cause that dramatic of a change in the person.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we talked about it before, but, like, loss is a universal pain. So it's always going to resonate on one hand. And the idea that people change isn't like some story fucking contrivance. It's like, no, this happens to people. Like, people deal with things a different way, and some people take it a little too far. Like, some people do get really depressed or really reserved or,
just a total rebel like Chloe.
Yeah. Like,
and
Chloe's case, Joyce is working all the time. It's like, so who's her, like, it seems like she spent a lot of time with her dad,
Mm-hmm. And I always like the subtle romances, because as much as, anyway, David and Joyce are actually a decent couple. The way that David has just a hard time expressing his emotions to Joyce, but clearly cares about her. I like that. Yeah. But yeah, that scene is really cool because you think it's this huge victory that you changed the past, you altered the past and brought William as the dad.
But a lot of things change all of a sudden.
Yeah, you go back into the present and suddenly you're in the Vortex Club with like Nathan Prescott, Victoria, Warren is off with that girl. I forget her name, but he's like dating someone else and doesn't even talk to Brooke. Yeah, Brooke is her name. Good call.
Is it Brooke or Stella? No, Brooke.
Stella's the other that you keep saving from getting like splashed on and stuff.
No, Alyssa's the girl you save from getting splashed on. Stella is the girl. What does she do?
She's the one that doesn't or lets you into the
Vortex Club. Yeah, I think she's just a regular chick.
Okay. But yeah, so you can tell immediately that a lot has changed, and my heart was pounding when she was running to Chloe's. I didn't know why yet, but you could just feel the way the emotion or the music was swelling, the way the cinematography was, and then William's at the front door and he's alive, and Max is so overjoyed, and he says, "Oh, it's gonna be great for you to see Chloe." and he steps back, and just the way Max's face crumples and the camera pans back to Chloe in that wheelchair with the respirator, my heart dropped out from underneath me.
Yeah, it was another example of like, and Max keeps trying to do what she thinks is the right thing, but like there seems to be like another punishment that comes along with it.
That's a hefty punishment.
Yeah, and let's get to episode 4. Let's get to the real important part of episode 4. Euthanasia.
Woo!
Like Chloe full on asks you to kill her, and I was just like, wow, this game is really going there.
Yeah. God damn.
And like it actually handled it well. I didn't feel like it was super shitty again. Like when I'm joking when I say, oh, like this game went there, it's like none of these are like story beats gaming hasn't done. It's that these are story beats when they happen in a game you just fucking facepalm to because it's done in like done with no nuance or like respect of any of the characters that were in that story. But like here, watching how emotionally broken Chloe is from how headstrong and like tough tough would be a good way to describe the Chloe we know.
Right.
Right?
The juxtaposition was so oh man. That was rough. Again, a lesser game would have thrown you right into that decision, I feel like. Yeah. And what I, again, really respected the first episode of Life is Strange is that not a lot of action happens. It's just place setting, and that was smart. Same thing for the first part of episode 4, because I was a little nervous with that huge episode 3 cliffhanger that they would immediately take these backsies and you wouldn't feel the impact. That the whole impact was that one scene and they moved on. No, like they pick up exactly where they need to leave off, and like you're not gonna go do other things. Like we're gonna focus. Like if we have to end this episode on a weaker note, it's fine. But we're going the logical direction the story is going. Like the pilot is a pilot in a very strict sense. It was very much a table setter. Yeah. You spend the first 45 minutes or hour of episode 4 just going through the motions of the day in the life of this new Chloe, and it's so heartbreaking. And then, when that decision came,
and the thing is, like, when you look at the dad, they were obviously going to make him likable, because if they made him hateable, it would be one thing. But, like, again, like, I wouldn't call him a particularly like well fleshed out because not enough time was given to him.
No,
but like he's presented as a very loving dad. Joyce is happy to have. Like obviously she's devastated at what happened to her daughter, but like she's keeping like Joyce again like toughness. If where Chloe gets her toughness is clearly Joyce, as far as I'm concerned. And she's hard as nails, and she's exhausted.
Yes, again, that decision is not nearly as impactful unless you do some snooping and see how the bills are piling up and they're behind on their mortgage and debts are piling up. And it's just like, when Chloe says, I'm a burden, she's not lying. So...
I don't like the wording, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's her wording. It's not my wording.
Yeah.
She says burden.
I'm just saying, well, but I can't even disagree with you because it's like, that is...
Yeah,
she is a financial difficulty, but it's like, the parents are keeping, which makes them good parents, first of all, obviously.
Yep.
Which
obviously,
thank you that they didn't go the logical route where one parent is fighting the other or some bullshit. It's like they know that because I feel like would have been the easy thing to write. So the easy thing to write is like, well, once this would break up a family, but I was like, there's plenty of examples where parents like they fight on.
Yeah,
like they somehow get tighter, and I like sometimes that story is just as good. Like you need to sometimes we look for like
conflict,
conflict a little too hard, right? Mm-hmm. Like we can't write couples with that not conflicting, but like Friday Night Lights, again, a show I really like is like the thing I like about it is that Coach Taylor and his wife, they conflict in like a very real way, but at the end of the day, it's like no, that's a healthy relationship. It's not like Don Draper and Betty Draper, which is again, that was a great relationship as well in terms of like great characters, great storytelling, but it's like,
sometimes taking away the smaller conflict makes the bigger one more impactful. Because if they had that small conflict of Joyce and William fighting, then the
decision becomes easier.
Yeah, then exactly. So taking that out and seeing that they would rather go into the biggest financial hole and lose their house and lose everything just to keep Chloe healthy and happy for one extra day, makes her asking you so much harder.
Yeah, because it's like, listen, there's like...
Because, yeah, they're not going to thank you. As if Joyce and William are now going to thank you for killing their daughter.
Yeah. It's like, because they're still going to be in debt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you make the debt easier for them. And, like, the other thing is, it's like, you know, Chloe's being... And you can't even say Chloe's being selfish, because I was going to say she's being a bit selfish, because God forbid that happened to me. But like...
Did you kill her?
No, dude.
I did.
No, I ran and I just... Once I could fix it, I was like, oh, thank God.
No, I killed her.
I couldn't.
First, that's always been a thing. I've always been very pro-choice in the sense of if someone asked me euthanasia and they were in that much suffering, and like again, she was gonna die.
I couldn't do it to Joyce.
Yeah, I was just really hoping as I pushed that button and she fell asleep, I was like, please now, immediately before Joyce comes in the room, let me go back in time and not have to deal with the consequences of that decision.
Yeah, you're just like, can I walk out of this house now? So what happens when you kill her, actually? Yeah.
She just says thank you, slowly falls asleep. Max is just floored, and then she just looks to the yearbook on Chloe's lap and just jumps back. Yeah, so it's not like Joyce and William come in the room like, what the fuck did you just do, or anything like that.
I want to say I look at the yearbook as well and go from that room after I don't kill her. Mm-hmm. But, you know, whatever. Like, once the situation is like, what else happened in episode 3, though? Episode 3 is not when we go to Frank and all that stuff about, or the barn house and everything.
No, that's episode 4.
Yeah, so episode 4 gets us back to the murder mystery stuff. Then.
Yes, that's probably the most progression that is ever made on the murder mystery. There's the Vortex Club.
The other big storyline in this whole game is that Rachel Amber is this girl missing, and like we don't know what Nathan Prescott seems to have some role to play in it. And like Chloe's devastated because that girl Rachel's missing, right? Yeah, and what ends up happening is that she was murdered, and I don't want to say it's a rape, but it is a sexual assault.
I don't know if there was any traditional rape, but there was definitely, they posed her body.
There's something wrong about you using the word traditional rape.
Well, because everyone thinks rape, they just think of sex.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
but it's still rape when you're doing that stuff.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable.
It's
unsettling.
Very uncomfortable. Yes.
The game's that was an unsettling scene in episode 5. I felt
episode 4.
No, episode 5, the one with when Max is in the chair.
Oh, yeah, that was insane. I thought even them rushing back to the junkyard and finding Rachel's remains was really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Dude, episode 4 is probably as strong as episode 5 ends, and it's the emotional gut punch of all gut punches.
A lot of stuff happens in 4. 4 is when Warren kicks his ass.
4 is okay. So 4 opens with the euthanasia stuff. Warren kicks his ass.
No,
they
3.
Find...
Wait, 3. Oh, right. 4 opens.
Yeah, 4 opens with the euthanasia stuff. And then there's finding Rachel's remains. And then there's the Chloe gets shot in the head again at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. That is a packed episode.
Yeah, shit.
That's when you find out who the real killer is.
Yeah, it's when you find out that Jefferson, the photography teacher, is the killer. And I remember when we were playing episode 1, I was like, yeah, he's a teacher, like Ben, he's a scumbag. Now we need to think about Ben. Ben could be a secret killer. We don't.
You never know. Yeah. Is he a photography teacher?
No, God, no.
No. Did you ever suspect Jefferson? Because I did. Not early, not like the first episode, but I think somewhere between episode 2 and 3, or I think it was actually when he makes that comment about Chloe. Remember they Max and Chloe bump into Jefferson?
Uh-huh.
It's like a really small scene, but for some reason, something about that interaction made me think that he knew Chloe in a different capacity, and that maybe he knew Rachel, and that maybe he was into it somehow. So it wasn't like a confirmed, I have evidence against him. It was just a weird feeling I got in that interaction.
He was my pick early on, in the sense that my reaction to this stuff has always been it's the vanilla ice cream guy is the guy. Mm-hmm. The guy that they're not playing up as
not the janitor who's clearly
too
creepy.
Obvious and creepy.
Frank
David's
is
not
going
to work. The principle seems dumb, but no.
Nathan can't pull this off by himself.
Yeah, so like if it wasn't going to be Nathan by himself, I was like my bet was it was going to be that teacher, right? And thematically when that happened, it made sense, right? Because like the whole thing, because it's like everything about photography is capturing an image, right? Mm-hmm. And like that seems to be like capturing moments is what seems to be Max's thing instead of just letting them go, right? Like it's fine if the reality is we're going to have more moments as we go on. That's exactly what Jefferson does in a very sick and twisted way.
The sickest and twistedest.
Yeah. And that stuff's really well executed, in my opinion. Episode 4, you fucking search that barn house. Again, there was like little things like that. The game where it really wins me over is that, like, I want to say it's light on gameplay, and it is, in the sense that, like, it's not mechanically complicated. But, like, you end up doing a lot as a player. Like, your exploration in this game doesn't feel as bullshit as, like, certain parts of The Walking Dead Season 1, where I felt like I was just pixel hunting. And part of that is because you move around this game world like a third-person action-adventure game. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a point-and-click.
No.
You know, that adds to the experience. Thomas Towers of GamingUnder.net, who you should check out anyway.
Episode 4, you also assemble all the clues and do some actual kind of detective work.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole string of stuff, like just putting the stuff together. It's like, if you don't add it together right, whatever, like, you can't progress. But, like, it was a cool little thing to do. You know? Like basic detective stuff. And
that's how I want these point-and-click, choose-your-own-adventure things like Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us in this game. That's how I want it to go. If you're not going to give me complex gameplay scenarios, where if I'm not, like, shooting or jumping, like platforming or anything like that, I'm not saying shoehorn those things into these types of games. Don't do that. Use the mechanics you have to create competent and logical gameplay scenarios like the sleuthing. Makes total sense in the context
none
of the story.
It is difficult. It keeps me engaged and feeling like a participant as opposed to a passenger.
Like a walking simulator.
Yeah. Which is what Telltale's model has, like, its worst entries have that habit.
Yes.
Better sequences, like, you know, like, technically The Walking Dead has a shooting segment, right? It's not a good sequence of the game, but it has a shooting segment, right? So
yeah, the Walking or Life is Strange, I don't think has like any quick time events.
None. I can't think of one.
I don't remember. Does it? I don't think so.
No, because like even the stuff with Jefferson, like you have to very specifically. It's more like a puzzle in the sense that, a puzzle where you have to tell David what to do.
It's time sensitive, but it's not quick time.
Yeah. Like half the time you're just rewinding time just to like.
It's
a fail state, effectively. You're, like, reloading the game.
Yeah.
Which I think is a weird way to do it, but actually a cool way to do it in the context of the story.
Yeah.
And that stuff's really well executed again. Like, that's why I keep coming back to is, like, I really liked how the game handled certain things.
Yeah, as I said, tender and warm as the game opened, that last episode is as dark as a video game can get without being a straight-up horror game, basically.
Yeah. So, episode 4 has the Vortex Club stuff.
Yep.
And I bring this up as, like, the root of my issue with not just, like, the dialogue in this game, but just, like, the way we do choose-your-own dialogue games with dialogue trees is that if you're gonna do this, is like, we're now at a point where, like, fuck it, you have to keep going the extra mile. Like, I understand that I'm asking for a lot of work from the developers, but you wanted to put your money where your mouth is. Alright? So, like, you have to do this. And what I'm saying is, so there's a scene where Victoria is dating, I don't know if she's dating Nathan, but, like, it's very obvious that she's the next victim. Or going to be the next victim. And as Max, you need to stop her. Right? Because that would be the right thing to do as opposed to using Victoria as bait or something. But in my game, Victoria's a bitch who stole my cookies during one of the episodes. So I was going to let Victoria have it because you know what? It's not like if you start being nice to Victoria that she cuts out her bullshit throughout the whole that story. She's still being Victoria, right?
Which is, again, good writing, because if she magically changed in the span of a week...
Yeah. Or like she just started changing because Max was being nice to her when she's got other quote-unquote friends, it would be odd. But like, I just ripped her a new one. I mean, I ripped into her in ways that felt great. But then when it came time to like explaining, hey, don't mess with Nathan because things are going to happen... Mm-hmm. It was just jarring when I made that decision, and I'm like, I would still, like, that's not a me problem. That is your dialogue system not being well equipped to handle the fact that the people that will rip her a new one will still want to save her because they're that self-righteous. You know what I mean? Like, those people would exist.
Yep.
So, like, you know, like, you could have gave me a whole, listen, you stupid bitch, he's gonna try to kill you, here's why, X, Y, Z, and she could be condescending the entire time, but at least she would get the point across, right? Instead, what happens is she's very tender and warm after about 10 minutes of me ripping her a new one.
Right.
Which is
she just switches on a dime, yeah.
Yeah. We've joked about this plenty of times, but the slang in this game was fucking overkill for 3 years. Like, shaka bra, I'm like, white girls do not say this. No white girls would say this.
Hella, man.
Yeah. Hella, okay, that seems like a West Coast thing from my understanding, so maybe.
Yeah, but, like, not to that. There were some times where it was so pointlessly shoehorned into something. And I loved when alternate timeline Chloe said, I hate that word. I thought that was kind of meta humor. That was funny.
Yeah. Like, I'm glad that, like, you know, it's the equivalent of, like, an old man saying finna gunna on, like, a Skype call or something. Like, who would do that?
It's disgusting.
Anyway, that's deplorable behavior. But, like, you know, because, like, again, whatever, slang can be used in writing. It's just, like, you actually have to be able to understand and make it... Like, Rockstar gets it.
Yes.
They got actual hoodlums to teach someone how to do hoodlum speak.
Never in a Rockstar. Sometimes it can be overbearing, but I never feel it's inauthentic. I could be like, yeah, someone would be this annoying in real life, whereas a lot of times in Life is Strange, just seeing really tin-eared that nobody talks like that.
Yeah, there's no consistency to that slang. Because like they were just bumping off different words. I'm like, so now they listen to hip hop, pop rock, pop music, and the blues.
Grunge, punk, everything.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay. I was like, even like the music theme of this franchise doesn't have that level of diversity, so like it doesn't work.
I sometimes felt that the writers kind of browsed some forums, or asked like their children. It felt a little. There were sometimes, again, when it's being honest about emotions and characters, nails it. When it's trying to be...
Stay hip with the kids?
Yeah, you can feel it. You can feel the strain.
It's like old people made this game. Let's not get carried
Old
away.
French people made this game, didn't they?
Old French. Hey, they make bitchin' food, though.
Yeah.
So whatever. God, the Jefferson stuff is creepy, though.
Creepy. Like I said, I don't think I felt that uncomfortable in a game for a while.
Like, not since Manhunt.
Yeah, really grimy, uncomfortable, confrontational.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, like he's very horror movie villain though. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm glad he takes that Machiavellian spin and it's like it's really over the top in a way.
Oh, he drops his pretenses immediately.
Yeah. It's like I do like it that like it's like the game has a little bit of fun with it, as creepy as it's going to get.
Yeah. The voice actor was having a good time.
And I think the voice actress for Max sells the like
vulnerable,
how vulnerable she feels and just how bothered she is by that later, right? And just the way they get out of it is a really cool sequence too. Again, you get she finds a way to save Chloe and then also save David at the end. And
so here's a question I had. So because I warned Victoria went and talked to Nathan anyways, and she still ended up in that room.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was wondering, if you don't warn her, does she still end up in that room anyways? Because I thought that would be a funny diversion where you think warning Victoria will be the thing that gets her out of the room, when in reality warning Victoria is what spurns her. It's like telling someone, swerve, you're going to hit that kid, and then they like drive into oncoming traffic.
She was dead in your game then?
No, she was alive.
She's
She
in
was
the
just
room.
she was drugged. She wasn't dead though. She was going to be dead.
Hmm.
Oh wait, no, did she? Yeah, she did end up dead. Because in like at the beginning, she's
I
alive.
want to say she wasn't in my room, but that might just be because of the time jumps.
Right, because sometimes she wasn't in the room and sometimes she was in the room.
Yeah.
Because I thought that would have been an interesting spin on things if you warn her and that's the reason she goes to Nathan. Whereas if you didn't warn her, she never would have talked to Nathan, never would have ended up in that room. And you being a good person actually, again, is an instance of Max trying to help things makes it worse.
Yeah.
Or if it's one of those...
I could see that, but I'm not remembering that scene.
If it's one of those Max Effect decisions where she's in the room no matter what, just for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't tell her, then she just talked to Nathan, ended up in that room. If you did talk to her about it, she goes to Nathan to warn him, and then ends up in that room anyways. You know what I mean? Like, the context is different, but they end up in that room either way.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah, I don't remember that part all that well now.
That could be that could be laziness, but we'll reserve judgment to someone who knows.
Yeah. But
yeah, again, I love trippy elements to video games, especially because in movies, because you're passively watching it, I feel like visual tricks don't work as well in movies as they do in video games.
mm-hmm.
And the visual tricks in episode 5 and all the disorientation of the time jumping really starts to get to you, I think, as a player.
Yeah.
Starts to make you feel completely off your axis. Which, again, kind of works against the build-up to the ending, because it kind of feels like, and you're here now in this decision.
Yeah.
And the walk down memory lane is
was
little
not that
too
good of a sequence. It was
little too drawn out, yeah.
It was basically the same shit I don't like in the first season of The Walking Dead, which is, and The Walking Dead might be a little worse about it.
It is worse just because it's showing, or at least in Life is Strange, it's showing instead of telling, which is always the preferable route to go in storytelling, but it's still too long.
It's more or less telling, though, at the same time. But, like, yeah, again, The Walking Dead has that one guy who's just going, look at all the shitty things you did, or didn't do, or whatever. And then the Life is Strange is like, look at this crazy journey we've been on. And I'm like, I played this story. I remember it. Like, I need you to trust me now to remember this shit.
Especially if you blew through it in like a weekend. It would be so fresh.
I get the idea that, well, you know, people did play these episodes months apart.
That's true.
And all the same thing, but I still come back to, it's like, you have to trust your audience. Like, come on. Just
again, I think that is a little bit heavy-handed writing just to make you feel the final... As if you somehow, again, forgot all of your emotional attachment to Chloe. Because they'd been building up the town a lot in episode 5 with David, Joyce, Frank, Warren, all those people.
Yeah.
And then they probably thought, oh shit, we need to remind them why Chloe's so awesome, so this is a hard decision. When really they didn't need to do
actually, all that trippy stuff isn't even about reminding you how awesome Chloe is. That whole trippy stuff is a stretch of, like, is Max all that altruistic, isn't it? Condescending Max is a bitch.
Yeah, well, that part of the trippy stuff specifically is, yes, that part.
Yeah.
When you're talking to people.
Oh, even Victoria and Chloe are getting together. It's like, you know, like Max is questioning, like, what's been real this entire time.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like, whatever. It makes sense that she would be, you know, a little uncomfortable at certain things. This is like part of her own story for the last few months has been a few lies being told.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh no, I totally know your name, Juliet.
And then you have to go back
in time to, like, remember, no, your last name is Mason, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Watson, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, we totally didn't almost kill that dog Pompidou.
Yeah, you can get Pompidou killed. You can get Frank killed too.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't get either of them killed because
no,
I'm a awful person. But yeah, like that whole sequence is like, and I was like, it would be dishonest if they didn't do a sequence like that. Mm-hmm. Because again, we go back to the Kate thing. She was being just as bad. The difference was that she had the powers to save Kate. Mm-hmm. But she was just as much worried about herself, caught up in her anxiety, caught up in her, like, shyness and just insecurities, right?
Which is good that Max isn't the shining light
Yeah.
It's just that she just has again, everyday hero.
Yeah.
You just need to be the one that steps up when the time is right.
Yeah. It's like we're watching this character grow, and at the end, like, when she's being called out on whether or not you were a good person, it's like she's accepted that maybe her reasoning wasn't always the best, but she has grown into a better person. Like, that's what makes it work, and that's why, as we said earlier, there's only one ending.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
People like that ending. I don't know. I whatever. Like, Mazel Tov. You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah,
but
just doesn't make sense.
I think it's a bad ending.
I do too. I think it's a dishonest ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it works. I don't think it thematically flows. I don't think it's the logical ending of that story.
No.
So we could redo the Game of the Year podcast and replace that.
That's going to be the biggest thing I take away from Life is Strange, is that it came down to me and I cut it. And now, having played Undertale, still a good game, we'll talk about that later, Life is Strange is the better game. It's in my top 5 of last year.
But I think both games would make the top 10.
Yeah, Undertale could still be top 10, just Life is Strange should not be cut for it.
I mean, like I said, technically there's a 9th and 10th on our list. It's like those two games probably will not be.
Hey, I have Until Dawn now.
Yeah, and I bet when you're done with Until Dawn, you're like, yeah, it's cool. It's not better than Life is Strange. To be fair, even Phil would say that. It's like, it's not better than Life is Strange, but I wanted Until Dawn there as well. It's like, both should have made that list. And I'm going, that's why we should have cut Rise of the Tomb Raider. I'm actually playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I'm like, yeah. My reaction to it is, this game should be no higher than 10th, but I get why it would be in the top 10. That was a good year now. Like, it's really getting annoying, because it's like, I mean, Life is Strange is a tough cut, but we really did put, at least what I'm thinking, 9 out of those 10 games were good games. You know? Like, it's not like a weird year where we put fucking, like a game like vehemently... Like, it's not like when we put World of Warcraft in our fucking top 10 games or something. I'm just going, fuck World of Warcraft.
That was out of respect to... I forget why that's there.
Burning Crusade, yeah.
Yeah, well, because it was a fantastic expansion.
Yeah,
but
like,
top 10? I don't know. Yeah, so what was your favorite episode overall then? That's a tough choice.
It's a tough choice.
Because again, Walking Dead, you say what's your top, it's like everyone's going to say 3 or 5. And most people would say 5. Whereas Life is Strange...
I would say 5 for Walking Dead, even though like people love the whole killing duck thing as like a powerful sequence.
There's a lot in that.
But like episode 5 is just like, even though I don't like that one sequence, and it is a little silly, and it is a weird climax, the ending is so good. And the Walking Dead, it like makes that story. It's like, it is the perfect culmination of all that stuff.
It's probably single-handedly the reason why we see games like Life is Strange.
I mean, yeah, it put Telltale's model on the map.
Yeah.
That ending doesn't work the way it does. Like, the Walking Dead crashes and burn at the end. The Walking Dead does not win Game of the Year. It does not get that weird, out-of-nowhere... Because it wasn't being talked about when Episode 3 was out. Not the same way. It was once it finally nailed it, it was like, all right, now everyone needs... Same thing happened in Life is Strange. It's almost like endings matter or something. Anyway, damn, this is tough. This is actually really tough. They're all really good. I would go with episode 2, actually, though. That's your love for Kate right there. I like that episode. I like that. I think it ends beautifully. I think the added dimension that you brought up during this hour has been that that's actually not the central storyline of that episode. Until it is. When you think about it, it's like, it's such a cool way to do it because you, the player, are not giving Kate the attention just like every fucking one else in that school. Makes that whole thing go really well. Episode 4 is really good in the sense that a lot of things happen, but
it's the most packed, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's like, it's got the least emotionally resonant moments, and those are the moments when I think of Life is Strange. And the Kate sequence is the linchpin that starts really getting Life is Strange going to another level as a story. The pilot was really good in episode 1, but the Kate sequence is very much Duck dying. His name was Duck, right? Yeah. In The Walking Dead. It's like, before that, it was a good story in a zombie apocalypse setting. and then it felt like it was being taken to another level when they killed Duck. It's like, oh wow, okay, they actually went there. In case of Kate, it was like, okay, this game's gonna have this game's got heart and it's going somewhere with this. So like, all right, like I'm on board now. I was on board from episode 1, but like I was really on board after episode 2. God, 3 is really good with the school. There's a lot of good episodes in this show. Game.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean, is unlike The Walking Dead, or even unlike Wolf Among Us, it's kind of hard to say, take one episode out and say, this one had the best moments, because they're all contextually placed together.
They're all different aspects of that game. Done very well. So, what's your favorite episode?
I would say probably 5.
It's a good finish. It's a good finish.
Yeah, it's a very good. Just because how much ground it covers. As much as the memory lane thing is padded, just how much ground it covers, the amount of emotions it goes through. I think it nails that feeling of the apocalypse, even though it's just for one town, so well. How Max is kind of letting go of everything. So that's the only way I'd sort of give it to people who are talking about the town ending or sacrifice the town for Chloe, is I love her dialogue with every character. It very much reminded me of Shepard saying goodbye to his crew as he's going up to that final beam. She has that conversation with each and every single person. And my favorite moment is actually probably not sacrificing Chloe, not the final scene. My favorite moment is when she's in that diner and everyone's frozen. And you hear their voices in your head as you're walking past them. I really liked that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good stuff.
That was cool. Yeah.
It's made me want to play Remember Me. Just to be like, I want to see, okay, I know it's not going to be a good game, but like, I want to see where the good studio is in that bad game. Or mediocre game, or whatever it is. Like,
I heard the memory stuff is the best part.
Which is like, makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. The actual stealth and gameplay is bad, but...
Well, yeah. But, you know. If it's poor man's Batman combat, I'm like, yeah, whatever, I can sit through that. Batman. That stuff is like a perfectly acceptable bad gameplay design, which is that, I mean, it functions and it's fun on a basic level. Like, it's going to be fun it's going to understand the very basic reason of why the Batman combat is enjoyable without really getting why the Batman combat is good.
Right. Well, it's like Lords of the Fallen is one of the Xbox One games with gold for March.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe I'll play a poor man's Dark Souls.
Yeah. Like, in theory, they have the superficial understanding of why someone would want to play Dark Souls. They won't get why Dark Souls is special.
Right.
Like, they're not going to get the atmosphere, the lore, the sense of pace, the just absurdly hard monsters.
The only reason I won't play it, though, is because Dark Souls 3 comes out in March, too.
April.
Oh, April?
April 12th.
Damn!
March is actually, by the things that we tend to like in video games, Chris, I would say March is actually kind of a slow month for us. Hold on. I mean, we could take this time in our Life is Strange podcast. Is there any character we didn't talk about?
No, I think we were pretty good at covering everybody. Because, like, the people that we didn't talk about, like the janitor, didn't end up being super important. He's kind of the red herring.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about David enough, I think. David's cool. Best cast of 2015? Maybe?
Oh, I don't even think it's close. No, I mean, it's either them or Undertale.
I was about to say, I really like Undertale's cast, too.
Yeah, because, like, I can't think of another... I'm looking at, like, the 2015 games now real quick just to be like, whoa, Witcher 3, asshole!
Oh, shit, never mind.
Oh, well, in my case, it's the Life is Strange cast, so I'm just saying, I'm like, I know you think the Witcher 3 cast is good.
Yeah,
Life is good cast, though.
Second,
that speaks volumes about how good the Life is Strange podcast is. Your dumbass forgot the Witcher 3 for a second.
For a moment, yeah. If we had stopped this podcast, I would have been like, wait, fuck, on the next podcast, I need
to correct this mistake.
I need to amend something.
We need to amend this.
Yeah. And just like we need to amend the top 10 game of the year, and Life is Strange needs to go somewhere.
Yeah. Hey, you're the one that said no. We can't do it now. We have to accept our mistake. We have to accept our consequence.
Yeah,
we can't rewind time.
No, that's my Kate jumping off the building. Couldn't rewind time for that one.
Oh man. It's gonna be the one that comes back more than the other ones, because by the way, we're now even. Like, you have returned my Valkyria Chronicles favor, so congratulations.
Yeah, true. It'll be I think Life is Strange. That'll be the legacy of Life is Strange. It'll be as much as it didn't.
Fucked up.
As much as it didn't win Game of the Year, wasn't even on top 10. I think it did in some sites, was ranked very highly. Some sites totally ignored it. I think people are going to talk about that more than they'll talk about, not The Witcher 3, but more than they'll talk about probably Metal Gear Solid 5.
If you played it, that game would have made our top 5.
Yes, because I would have.
If you played it, we might have put that game at second or third. You think it's an uphill battle, but think about it. We all turned on Metal Gear Solid 5 in a weird way.
Good.
Right.
The only game I wouldn't put it above, is
Bloodborne
and Witcher 3. Obviously Witcher 3,
but
I wouldn't put it above.
Here's the thing. I think putting Bloodborne down wasn't going to be that hard of an argument for everybody either, because it would have just been like, we've given From Software their due. We are giving From Software that we've given you too much credit routine and giving Bloodborne bad knocks.
Yeah, we're not letting you win the Oscar because you've already won it before.
Yeah, like, you've already won Game of the Gen from us. Technically, we'd give you the 2011 Game of the Year with Dark Souls, because no one's putting Witcher 2 over that game. And whatever. And then, like, as a forum, we gave way too much credit to Dark Souls 2. So, yeah, Bloodborne is... It would have been really close, though. Like, it would have been really close.
Definitely top 5.
Yeah.
Definitely top 5.
Our top 5 ended up being Witcher 3, Rocket League,
Bloodborne,
Metal Gear. Metal Gear still made it to third. Metal Gear, Bloodborne, and Splatoon. So Splatoon would have dropped easily.
Yeah, Splatoon.
And that's not a knock against Splatoon. Splatoon's a really good game. But, like, I think we were emotionally invested in Life is Strange.
Life is Strange is one of those things that you fight for from an emotional capacity, not because it's like, no, the gameplay mechanics are so good. No. It's innovative. It's like, no, I just love this game, and I will fight for it harder. Whereas I feel that sometimes gameplay mechanics, you can argue from a respectful level. Mm-hmm. You're like, no, I appreciate what this game was doing. You'll fight harder for games that you love, like Life is Strange. Yeah,
usually. I think that's why when I go back, I was like, the Antichamber cut does sting. But because it's just a me thing, it's like, alright, well, I can accept that you people are scumbags and don't like good puzzle games and want to promote the death of the industry. But like, and then like 2014, again, I didn't think there was any hard cut because the right game won Game of the Year because Bayonetta 2 was the answer. Every other answer is wrong. And then last year it was like, we made some hard cuts. I don't like how Rainbow Six was cut, at least the conversation around it. I don't like that we didn't play enough of Invisible Ink to give that game its just due. But Life is Strange is going to be the game we come back. I feel like I'm going to come back to and just going, that was a year we fucked up because Life is Strange belonged in that. Because as a group, we liked that game a lot. And the only thing that stopped that from happening was that some of our group waited too long to play that game.
It'll be, I think, one of those interesting, funny things where it didn't make top 10 for that year.
But we talk about it like every year.
When we get to Game of the Gen's 8 we're on, I would not be shocked if the 10th place was
let me put it this way. Adventure games, like I'm not saying this is a positive thing we do, but we have a tendency to compare games in a similar genre. Like, well, once it's, how does this game stack up to this thing? Like, even this podcast, we kept comparing it to The Walking Dead Season 1, which is a bit unfair to Life is Strange. But at the same time, like, guess what Telltale's games are going to get compared to now on when we play them? It's like, well, Life is Strange was actually good. It had good characters. Fuck you, Telltale. No.
I still need to play Tales from
Borderlands is supposed to be really awesome.
So. Yeah, everyone vouches for that game.
Yeah. So that's our Life is Strange podcast, though.
So good. So glad we talked.
Play that game. Yeah. God, this felt so good to finally just get to talk about this game in like a non-spoilery, spoiler fashion.
Yes. Just dive deep into it. I like spoiler, and that's what we're going to be doing next podcast, too.
Yeah, we're going to do another one with Undertale. Both of those should be up together in the same week. The other stuff's already up at this point. It's on the back end. I just need to do the fine-tuning and post it on N4G, but once we're done with those two, we'll be back to our regular scheduled programming of fucking doing podcasts of games we played. Yeah. Chris, what are you playing?
I just beat Ori. Okay. I clowned you all, except Ben.
Yeah. Hey, you did. By like 300 kills.
Yeah. And 100% too.
Oh, you're 100% of that game. Congratulations.
Yeah. I got all the upgrades, and then I went back and got all the life cells and that stuff. And then now I'm about to correct an injustice to my JRPG lore in the sense that I, for some reason, beat 10-2 and never beat Final Fantasy X. So
I'm thinking about buying Final Fantasy X HD.
I have it HD for the PS4.
Just to replay it, because I really feel like I want to do a podcast where I'm just shitting on a William game. Because
is that a Phil game too?
Hey, that's the bonus. I have no... What Phil likes and what Gagan likes, those could be two different things. No qualms.
Okay.
Shitting on William games is always entertaining. The defensiveness is different. Phil will just be like, fuck you. And I'm like, I can respect that. William will get...
It's interesting.
It's all love.
Poor William.
It's all love until Game of the Year season.
Oh, and then it's on.
No. But like, all jokes aside, I'm still happy with our top 10 games of the gen for the most part. You really fucked up with the Life is Strange thing. But subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. Check out our buddies at GameUnder.net, where you can check out Tom Towers and Phil Fogg. Also, Point Insertions, Eroica has always been doing our podcast intro. I do a bad job of pimping them out. Yep. Because the ratio to GameUnder.net to that podcast is completely unfair, considering that Eroica did our fucking music.
Yeah, it seems a little.
But speaking of which, I want to get them back on again. But like Eroica, it's either like to shit on him for Assassin's Creed, but he hasn't bought the new one. Maybe Mass Effect podcast. He is a Mass Effect fanboy.
Oh, me and him would just talk each other's ears off.
You two just fucking talk about Mass Effect Andromeda, yeah.
I would be in love by the end of the podcast, probably.
Yeah. All right. So that'll do it for us, and the next podcast we're doing is the Undertale podcast. So we are out.
See ya.